What is happening? Have we
I was
ever had
crushing it. I was crushing it.
a smooth entrance? Hello and
Hello.
welcome
Not
to
only
the.
was I crushing it, I had my mic muted the whole time as I was telling everyone how much I was crushing each transition.
That's
I was
excellent.
like, I
That
nailed
feels.
it. Nailed it again. I was looking at your video and I'm like, she's not even reacting. She has no soul whatsoever.
Yes, and it's like all the improv, right? It's yes and.
Right.
Hello and welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Cheers. Hi,
Cheers,
Kim.
everyone.
Welcome.
Kim.
Um
Arif.
Hi,
Hope I'm
Arif.
pronouncing that right.
I don't know what that means, but yes. Hey, Mary. Reagan is crack. Whack. We've been gone for a week. What's been going on? Did we miss anything?
Politics? No. I don't know. Last time, weren't we gone for a week last time and it was abortion rights were overturned?
Yeah, the world's on fire. Roe's overturned. Nancy is trying to start World War III any which way she can, but it kind of feels the same as last week and the week before.
And somehow I think Biden's ticking up in the polls, or at least that's the spin. Like the spin. I saw an article saying that the House
He's accomplished more in 60 days, 60 or whatever.
Yeah, but it's going to be. I read an article saying it was going to be a crushing victory by Democrats now in the Senate or something. And it was such absolute horseshit. Like it's not. There's no. They're trying to walk the dog and they're trying to convince people it's good for Democrats.
Yeah. I mean, the only way I can see that happening is that Republicans are so vile and so wackadoo, anti-civil rights, anti-female, anti-everything, like that they might just snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
100%. And the Roe versus Wade thing is the biggest gift to the Democratic Party because behind that, you can be the lesser evil for once.
Exactly.
I mean, if you actually do something about it, but they're not going to actually do anything.
They're not.
Kansas
did something about it yesterday, which is nice. They did more than Democrats have done in 50 years. I mean, Democrats very clearly are. I don't know if that's true. The runs. I haven't seen the polls today, but yay. I mean, Democrats openly said this is good for us. It's good for the midterms. They raised tens of millions of dollars off of the overturning of Roe. So way to go, Dems. Way to go.
Killed it. So anyway, before you ask me, how was your week?
What? I can't believe you're asking me.
Let's
good.
Go.
We went away for 4 nights. My family and I, my kids and I, had a great time. I lost a tooth. So it's a party if you lose a tooth.
It's not a front tooth, is it?
No, and I already got it like re-glued back on. It was a crown, gross. But I guess the decrepit old age, I was chewing a piece of sugar-free gum. It wasn't even like a wild wackadoo party. I was slathering myself with 50 SPF and having some sugar-free gum, and a tooth fell out. So I wish it were a better story. But anyway, it's joined my head back again, and now. How about you? How was your week?
My week was good. I had a birthday, which
happy birthday. I know.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Like
you're older than I am again.
God damn it. Am I? How many? We're like half a year apart or something?
Yeah. But I'm gonna just live in this 6 months where I feel young and fresh.
When I was your age, I didn't know shit. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
I hear 65 is a really good year, Pat.
Oh, fuck up. I thought I knew a lot, but really I was kind of full of shit.
Someday I will catch up to you.
But I had a great birthday. It was also my brother's birthday is only a week apart. And then my nephew stole my birthday also. Same born on my birthday. So we had a whole family deal and it was great. So
that's fun. Yeah. As you get older, I think it's actually better to share with other people because otherwise birthdays come and go and people kind of don't care that much anymore. So it's kind of like it makes it more celebratory.
And I just want to point out, thank you to my brother who bought me a plethora of delicious beers.
Nice.
It's nice when you get older and people are like, he's got this and that, but he doesn't have fresh beer. And who's going to hate you if you buy him fresh beer? So,
well, good. I'm glad. And you replenished your bourbon. I was worried about you a couple weeks ago. You had to go to Jack Daniel's, but now you're back in business.
That was a little rough. We'll see how it is. Backbeat bourbon, Seattle whiskey.
Bourbon. I like it.
I don't know.
I like it. All right. Well, I don't know. What do you think? We got a lot to cover. Should we get to the wheel?
I think it's wheel time. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Cheers. I just saw you just added the wheel. Good call. That would have been funny.
As it made a Malone last second. We had no wheel seconds ago.
Let me just also say, and you moved the shot. This is the least amount of pregame prepping we've ever done. We were both kind of coming in, taking care of different things over the last few days. So we've done our prep separately. Normally we spend like last night and today in studio talking through everything, and today
crying together.
And we cried separately this week. So this is going to be interesting. I'm excited.
To make up for that, I only got about 2 hours of sleep. So
excellent work. That's what happens when you get older.
It's really going to fall. This is not a birthday thing. Don't make me bring up the cancer card. Make everyone sad right before I spin the wheel.
No,
I just did that. Now people think I have cancer. So I don't have cancer. Let's go.
Let's spin the wheel.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
All right.
Get a shot.
But for real, cheers.
Baby.
That's the way to start it. Oh, we didn't even talk about everything we've got on the wheel. All right. Everyone get your shots ready. Here we go. Yes, let's talk about what we got. I did pregame a little too much on my own. So we got recession proof, rotating villain, build back MAGA, climate changed, and COVID unmasked. Cheers.
Interesting.
Okay.
That went down really smooth. I just don't know if I love what went down. It's like, I might have a little aftertaste.
Yeah.
It could.
What's your mixture? Just the beer. All right. Should we spin again and see what we got?
Yeah, exactly. That's not important.
Yeah, baby.
I love starting the show off this way.
We are starting it the worst or the best possible way.
Boy, it's going to be fun when we get to the really important topics. Yeah. I'm already.
If you actually want to join talk about politics, join our show at about halfway through.
You ready?
At which point I'm probably a babbling idiot. But cheers.
Okay. Cheers. The last time we were on, I had a cold, and I do think the 7 shots I did in the hour killed the cold.
You just got us kicked off YouTube for COVID misinformation.
Yeah.
That's not scientific.
Vodka kills COVID.
So anyone that's watched our show recently, please tell us if we said something that was COVID misinformation.
Oh my God.
Because they keep pulling us every time we talk about COVID, and there's nothing we're sharing that's not like science. We're not sharing stuff from chiropractors about COVID
or even Leanna Wen, who spreads misinformation all the time, or even the CDC, which we're going to get to, but Jesus Christ. All right.
Back to the wheel. Let's actually get a topic, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
don't know what the whistle's for.
Recession. All right, let's just. They've changed the definition of a recession because everyone is working really hard to not blame this on Biden. And obviously, there's been 40 years of decimating the working class and the middle class, but there are things he could do. But anyway, it is really interesting to watch this. Do you want to start with the Krugman clip?
Yeah, why not? I mean, so just so people know, if you don't, it used to be 2 downturns in the GDP in a row was a recession. Did I have that correct?
I think that, yeah.
2 declines in the GDP. Maybe this is by a
2 quarters in a row, right?
2 quarters in a row. And then they created a group not that long ago that declares if it's a recession on their own. It's an economic group. So it's no longer the whole standard it's been forever. Now it's like a group that says, well, we're looking at some other factors.
Right.
Oh, Joe Biden's president. It's not a recession.
Yeah. Not a recession.
Not a recession.
So let's see the spin doctors.
Gloria, an economist, a distinguished professor at the City University of New York's Graduate Center, and a longtime columnist for the New York Times. Welcome to the program. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can we dispense with the recession debate real quick? Are we in a recession, and does the term matter?
No, we aren't, and no, it doesn't. I mean,
one sentence. That was it, huh?
Yeah, that was it. It's none of the usual criteria that real experts use says that we're in a recession right now. And what does matter? The state of the economy is what it is. Jobs are abundant, although maybe the job market is weakening. Inflation is high, though maybe inflation is coming down. What does it matter whether you use the R word or not?
Certainly, the White House was trying to encourage reporters to use the technical definition, but certainly many are using a broader definition. So this is going to go on for a while, and I feel like everybody's playing their roles the way you would expect them to play their roles. What should the media's... Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that this is especially vitriolic. I mean, I get, I've been in this business for a couple of decades and get lots of hate mail and see stuff. I've never seen anything as bad as this. The determination of a lot of people to say it's a recession is above and beyond anything I've ever seen.
What do you think is driving that? Just partisanship and polarization getting worse and worse every year, and thus this?
Yeah, it's partisanship. People want it. It's the Biden recession. They want their Biden recession. They're going to have it. Never mind the fact that that it in fact is not a recession in any technical sense.
Is it fair to say this is the weirdest economy we've ever lived through?
I mean, can we just, this is what it looks like. It's not the Biden recession. It is definitely bipartisan. But when you're looking at the statistics that since 1978, the cost of college tuition has increased by 1,120%. Medical care has increased by 601%. Food has increased by 244%. Shelter has gone up by 360%. And the pay of the typical worker rose by just 10%, right? So when you look at that and that average CEOs, their pay increased by almost 1,000%, you can call it whatever you want, but it's bleak. Millennials, I think, on average, have $100,000 of debt, and that's not mortgages, right? We are in dire times.
And here's an actual economist going on TV saying, it doesn't matter if you call it a recession. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not important. Like,
it's so gross.
He's never seen such a push to label it Biden's recession. But the real push is for Putin's tax hike, Putin's gas
right.
hike. Like that's the bullshit propaganda. This is Biden's recession. Now you can talk about how we got here, which is what they should be doing, instead of just like completely ignoring the economic realities, which is what they're trying to do.
They are, and it gets even worse. Look at this lady, and I'm always going to detest her because of how she was with Bernie. But here's Miss Zerlina.
Inflation, it's almost a privilege to care about inflation as your number one issue. The same is true of gas prices or even the idea that it's the economy, stupid.
It's
so
a privilege to be the poorest motherfuckers. That's what she's saying. It's almost a privilege to be so poor that inflation affects you.
Imagine.
Are you fucking kidding me?
They really are so repugnant. They deserve to lose in such a devastating way. I can't even stand it.
And just so people understand the propaganda, I mean, what's XM radio, right? Oh, Sirius XM, which is the
Right.
Howard Stern network, the radio. But a lot of people don't listen to that, whatever. They get a lot of listeners. They have a lot of listeners, and she is in charge of their progressive programming on the network. So that's a huge avenue to misinform people when she's the alleged progressive who speaks on that, who is running the show over on that network.
Yeah, it's really repulsive. And, you know, there are ways to, clearly they don't care about the people they are communicating with, because they're only talking, it's like a, you know, a self-feeding loop. They're talking to the most privileged MSNBC listeners. But, you know, if you aren't already following Jordan Chariton and Status Coup, you really should. He's been doing some amazing reporting. He's going out and talking to people in homeless encampments where they are, you know, making it a crime to be homeless, and they just do all these sweeps. They get rid of people's possessions, throw them in jail, and then a week later, these people are back on the street. So I mean, you can make it criminal to be homeless, but if you're not solving it, what are you actually doing? And then of course that feeds into the whole prison industrial complex, where, you know, we just saw 2 weeks ago where they were saying private prisons, you can't, you have to keep giving us money. We have to keep housing people in our prisons, because otherwise where are we going to get our cheap labor from? Right. So then you really start seeing
doesn't
the
it
cogs
cost
in the
like
machine.
doesn't it cost like $70,000 a year to keep someone in prison or something?
I actually think it's
absurd.
more even than that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's like every other thing, like, you know, the communities with the least amount of crime are not the ones, obviously, with the most police. They're the ones that are most heavily invested financially in their communities, in their schools, in their public safe areas, right? So like the more that we criminalize people and make it sound like it's some privilege to be worried about having food on your table or a roof over your head, I mean, that is like evil.
The argument that caring about inflation is the most, what did she call it? I want to say elitist, but that's not what she said.
She did say it's coming from a place of privilege.
Privilege. Yeah. If gas affects you, gas prices affect you. I mean, they dramatically impact poorer people more, because they have to drive farther. Usually they live farther from the workplaces, because they can't afford to work around the places where they work, because the real estate's too high. I mean, look at San Francisco. How many people driving in San Francisco? Like, nobody can afford to live there. So the people working in San Francisco drive an hour. So when gas goes up $1, it costs them, you know, another $200 a week to get to work.
Yep.
Which is a quarter of their paycheck, where, you know, if gas goes up $1, it costs, you know, $200 to someone making $500,000 a year. It's nothing. So that obviously is the privileged position.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I was just back on the East Coast, and, you know, I forgot about all those toll roads. I rented a car, and it was tacked on at the end. I mean, we didn't go that far. I think it was an extra $40 just for driving on freeways for us. And okay, fine. But I was thinking of all the people who are just regular working people who have to pay those toll roads. Meanwhile, everywhere you look, there are those Amazon vans, right? They're using those freeways so much more than any of us are, while Bezos makes billions and billions of dollars. But everybody's paying the same amount on those toll roads, right? Like,
and obviously they're deteriorating the roads more because they're having heavier equipment on these roads, and probably getting a free pass on the tolls, probably everything, like, it's all subsidized. Every time they drive to deliver a package, it probably costs the city money.
Yeah, it's so backwards. And to have a group of people who never call it out, honestly, because they're so diehard just playing for their team, is just gross.
100%.
All right.
Do we move on? Do we have what do we? I mean, we
Oh
have.
no, we have a lot of stuff on the recession.
Not
I
too
don't know. I
much.
just got sad. Yeah.
Well,
I know.
we brought up
gotta-
the drivers. We should talk about UPS drivers.
That's right. 117 degrees in their cars because the CEOs won't put AC in their vans. So here's a group of UPS drivers who are sharing the thermometer reads from inside their trucks.
Oh, look, it's 3 people probably fired right there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because look at what happens as soon as labor starts getting too big for their britches and organizing. Amazon, Walmart, Starbucks, Chipotle are closing down their stores where people have voted to unionize. Starbucks firing their pro-union workers. Bank of America saying we hope for conditions of the American workers will get worse. I mean, it's all a way of disciplining labor, right? Because the more you're desperate to put food on the table, the closer you are to homelessness, the less time you have to organize, to speak out, to take, a few weeks to organize and strike. And actually, I just saw that the labor board, the National Labor Board, is telling coal miners who are on strike that they have to pay back the CEOs for the wages, for the labor that they lost. I saw Sarah Nelson get really upset about that, but that effectively ends strikes. If you have to pay back the bosses for the time that you strike against unfair working conditions.
And traditionally, it's the opposite. Traditionally, like teachers would strike and lose their paycheck for like a month or however long the strike took. And then part of the agreement would be to pay back the wages, I mean, why would you want to accept the deal from someone not willing to pay you during the time that you had to fight them to force things on them? I mean, you might as well stay on strike.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these corporations they're desperately looking for a win to suppress union activity,
exactly,
to suppress strikes. They need something, because right now, and this is why they're dying to raise interest rates and they don't mind inflation going up, because all that is punitive inequally on the poor. So these poor people are more likely to I have to fucking work because my kid needs daycare, which costs fucking $700 a month or $1,000 a month, or you're talking to someone who does. I don't even like kids. God damn it.
And the labor board is now, I think, inundated with, which, it's kind of a good thing that people are actually making claims against their bosses, but the NLRB is so defunded that they don't have enough people to investigate all the different claims. So then it's like, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, you can file all the claims you want, but if nobody's ever going to hold the CEOs accountable, then they just keep getting away with it. And also it's always easier for them to pay a fine, but to still work again, to still have union busting tactics, right?
Yeah, well, it's just like, I mean, the FEC, there are millions of things that could be, you could investigate probably every Democrat that's ran for office that was a centrist in the last 20 years and find fines on them left and right. But there's no teeth to the organization because there's no money, and that's by design.
Exactly.
We have all these rules in place, but we don't have any people to enforce it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty frustrating. So this whole idea of who cares about the semantics of it, whether you call it a recession or not, people can't put food on their table. I would love to just show one of the clips from Jordan, just because I think that's the kind of reporting that would actually be helpful for people to really understand what is happening.
Anytime there is anything for the people, you're going to hear the buzzwords. You're going to hear inflation. You're going to hear recession. You're going to hear filibuster. You're going to hear compromise. But you don't hear none of them when they're handing. During the rescue package, they were giving billions to the military that didn't even ask for it. But did the military give that to their men? No, I've been in Fight for 15 rallies with their wives fighting for a living wage because they're not making enough to live, and we know that. Who's getting at the Pentagon? They're contracting buddies. It ain't our poor old soldiers that are out here, the ones who's on the front lines, just like our poor cashiers, store clerks, everybody else that kept this economy going. That was the essential workers until they wanted a living wage. Everybody in our government panders to the extremists instead of listening to the 60-75% of the rest of us out here and acting like we don't matter and our voices they don't hear. And that is why we are standing up. We are sick and tired of being ignored. We are sick and tired of being blamed for what they do, or their inactions and their actions. Get your high schools, get them 18-year-olds in here, because our planet burning up, that's their future. You know, that's the most valuable resource we've got is our young, and they just keep cutting them. They devalue and don't respect our teachers. They treat them like trash. And if we don't get rid of these people, I don't care what party they're from. Look at what they're voting. Look at their policies. Look at what they've done. Quit voting for a name. Quit voting for the same old because you don't want to think or look at what's happening. Quit voting for God and guns and start voting for your kids and what's on your table and what's in your pocket. Quit listening to the propaganda and the brainwashing.
Yeah, and he has another great piece talking to a homeless encampment. And there's a group of people who are coming out to stand with the homeless people who are being arrested and whose belongings are being taken and, destroyed by police. And what they're saying is we're next. Like, we're all next. We're all so much closer to being homeless than we are to being millionaires or billionaires or whatever, right? So but it is just amazing how few politicians are willing to say it. And they have this whole infrastructure in corporate media willing to toe the line. And Paul Krugman, I can't believe I used to think I was on the same side as Paul Krugman. This is 20 years ago, but still, I used to respect him. It's vile.
Yeah.
The jobless, they talk about the jobless rate, but those jobs, we haven't had a minimum wage increase in 15 years, 13 years. And even, another piece of Jordan's reporting a few months ago, he was talking to Amazon workers making $18 an hour. We're still talking about the fight for 15. They were making $18 an hour and having to live in their cars. $18 an hour doesn't cut it anymore. 25 is just scraping by in most cities. $25 an hour.
Yeah, well, I'm in Sacramento, and Sacramento, let me tell you, Sacramento is not like living in Hawaii or Maui or New York. It's not an exotic place. It's not bad. I like Sacramento. But my rent since I've lived here has I've lived here long enough in this dumpy little slumlord apartment to pay half the rent people are paying that are moving in. I'm lucky because they are limited on how much they raise the rent each year. The new people moving in here cannot afford to not make $100,000 a year, and this is a shitty little really shitty little place. I'm not gonna lie. It's my place is nice. Come over. Let's have a beer. But in general, it's crazy. It's crazy how much living costs for people. And the real message should be it's privilege to not be concerned about the inflation rate. It's
100%,
not
of course.
Worry about a recession. To not worry about those things by just basic common sense means you have enough money not to worry about that shit. Yeah. Everyone worried about it is already in the hole.
Not privileged. Yeah. Not terrified. Privileged. Yeah. I think the latest thing was you have to make $160,000 a year in almost every city in this country, not including, of course, San Francisco, LA, and New York, just to not be a paycheck away from homelessness if you have some major issue. $160,000 is not a lot anymore because of what people have to deal with. And yet that's five times what,
And so, millennials get a lot of shit.
Right.
And I before I really knew a lot, I was giving millennials kind of shit.
Yeah. Stop the avocado toast.
To be honest. But like this idea, like 3/4 of millennials are more than $100,000 in debt.
Right. And that, again, not from owning a house. Yeah.
Not from like having anything to fucking speak of other than college debt.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's
Yeah.
probably most of it.
I mean, you're not going to save your way out of that. There's just no way. And what it does is it forces everyone to be sort of indentured servants where you're always paying on, you know, you have got to get a good education. So you have to go to a school that costs $80,000 a year. And then you are forever in debt, and the loans are, you know, the interest rates are astronomical. You're never actually paying off the principal. You're always just paying towards the interest. I mean, that is a way of having indentured servants, which is another way of disciplining labor. I mean, it's the whole system is set up to force people to be on such precarious ground that they can never speak out against the system.
It's true. And like, I mean, I just want to bring up my own situation. So my parents co-signed my loans. So I can't, like, I would love to just say, hey, let's all just rally and never pay our loans back. But my parents are on the hook for my loans if I do that. Like, you know, so that's an evil situation. I get it.
Yeah.
They signed the loans, they made their decisions, but like, did they make their, what parent wouldn't sign a loan for their kid? You know, like, I mean, for college, like, it's because that everyone's been sold this myth of like, you know, college is so important, college is necessary. And it, you know, it can take you from one poverty tier to the next, but it's changed dramatically in the last 15, 20 years. Like, it's not in our parents' generation, that was the safest bet you could have gotten. If their parents had given them money to go to college, they would have been wealthy. And that's a big part of what we're up against as leftists is like, you know, these people that watch MSNBC and CNN, you know, they tend to be older, and that is their experience. So they're more susceptible to propaganda, sort of putting it on these young kids, complaining that they didn't get everything they wanted in life, you know, out of Biden. Because they're not feeling it. They're privileged.
I have no sympathy for this younger generation.
Oh my God.
Just what he said.
Video.
Yeah. A horror.
Should we move on?
Yeah,
let's
move
on vibe.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, baby.
I think a shot. I think we're getting a shot.
Wow. I feel like maybe you put your thumb on the scale for that one.
I can't do that, unfortunately.
I know. I wish I could. That'd be so cool.
I mean, there is a way. I can change, like, I can make the one wedge, like the entire thing.
Just make it all shot.
I do have that power over here, but it takes too long to exert that power. So cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
All right.
Just want to report the whiskey is sort of growing on me.
Yeah, that's good to know.
It's like like my last whiskey I would drink was super vanilla-y.
Okay.
So by the time you get used to the vanilla, I don't know, you're kind of sick of the vanilla because you're also like drunk enough to not have that sugary, you don't want that sugary vibe.
Yeah.
What are we doing there?
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know if you saw that video, but oh my God, what was Pelosi talking about? Did we pull that video? That was insane. She cannot string together a full sentence anymore.
Where she was like trying to quote
she's like Ben Franklin presidency and the security on this one hand and freedom. I mean, crazy.
She couldn't even fill my role in this show.
She's so far ahead of us on the shots and whatever other medications she's doing.
And she's literally over in Taiwan checking on her stock.
Yeah, that's all got to be with the
holy
chip
fuck.
Something and her husband getting his extra.
It's
trading.
I could be wrong, but as far as I can recollect, it's the only time I've heard Republicans say good things about Nancy Pelosi. They were like, they backed her entirely on going over there.
Yeah.
Like, why would they?
Like, war with Russia, war with China, both parties can come together on that.
We can all agree.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
It's the meme, the hug.
Or the handshake or whatever the hell.
I don't even know. I'm too old for that.
Yeah. Well, you're 65 now.
I'm 74.
All right, let's spin.
Yeah, baby.
If you thought it was going away. You know, the crazy thing is, so last week or 2 weeks ago, we, semi-handed it to LA saying in 2 weeks they were going to bring back the mask mandate because our country looks like this.
And they were the first, one of the first, major cities. And obviously LA has you guys are a whole country almost. Like
Yeah,
your police budget in
Oh
LA
my
is literally bigger than most countries.
I know.
Military
I know, it's
budget.
disgusting. But even that, it was like, okay, we're going to wait for 2 weeks for more people to get sick, get long COVID, become bankrupt, die. I mean, who knows what? But in 2 weeks, at least, when enough people have, filled our quota of despair, we'll bring back the mask mandate. But now they decide they're not going to do it. Nope.
Yeah, never mind.
Not going to do it. Why would you do it? Why would you do
And
it? Just go get vaccinated.
And the numbers. So their argument was that things are looking up, basically.
Yeah.
They're like, things are looking up. We overreacted. Not a big deal. But the numbers are worse. So what happened is somebody came to them and said, if you do this in LA, it's going to spark a movement of people saying, holy shit, we need masks. This is ridiculous. Pay attention, which could hurt Biden in the polls. God forbid, COVID is not over.
Yeah. And what we've really done is taken away the efficacy of the boosters, of the shots and the boosters, which you should be vaccinated, get your boosters, but they were never going to work on their own. They always needed other tactics to go along with them to suppress. I mean, we don't even talk about suppressing infection anymore. I mean, that was the whole thing, was wear your mask, get boosted, isolate, quarantine when you're sick. We've taken away all of that. And now we're just like, still let it rip.
I think this, if you really look, it's sort of red, white, and blue. Like, it's like, go America.
Yeah. Go America. Exactly.
So they created this community transmission.
They did this one. They did the levels one. They changed it to levels to make it look better. But now even the levels one looks bad.
The
red one is
at 88%.
Yeah, I mean, even with the messed up metrics to try to make people look better.
And that box over there, it says nearly 88%.
Yeah.
Like if Trump was president, that would be like flashing and like there'd be like a dancing like Democrat horse donkey going by it or something to get your attention, because they're muting it right now. Like that is so like gray is literally background material.
Right.
Like they don't want you to see that it's 88%. Because if you just look at that little USA thing, you're like, it's not, I'm used to seeing it red. It looks gray and yellow.
We're just changing the colors. Yeah. And meanwhile, I think a year ago, Walensky was talking about how 400.
I didn't do that. Did I do that?
Yeah, it's okay.
Someone in the audience, who did that? Who hacked us?
Have 400 child deaths is a huge number. We're now up to 1,730 child deaths. And this week, the CDC is going to weaken its recommendations as kids are about to go back to school in 2 weeks. No more mask mandates. No, they're going to talk about how we should clean the air, I guess, but there's no funding for it. Biden stopped the whole emergency protections that Trump put in place that allowed everybody, whether you're insured or not, to get testing and treatment for free. So now the most vulnerable people in our society who do not have access to healthcare aren't getting covered for free. They're not testing for free and they're not getting treatment for free. So it's just such an evil way to be running this pandemic.
Yeah. And so our friend, what is it? Biden, tell me, fill in my sentence.
I don't know. I'm trying to.
Biden.
No, holding Biden accountable.
Biden accountable.
Yeah.
Yes. He pulled up a thread of like what he said and what he's doing, but this is another person. Sorry, this is the sleep deprivation kicking in here. I'm talking up that. Okay, but on Biden, when Biden and Kamala were running for office, they had a 7-point plan. It included all kinds of stuff like free masking, increasing
outreach
PPE.
to communities around the country that are, because every time they look at like who is more likely not to be vaccinated, it is always people who also are more likely not to have health insurance. So if you don't have a primary care doctor and you have to pay exorbitant amounts of money to go to your provider, if you have one, to find a doctor whom you trust, right? And there's a big reason that people might not trust vaccinations, or just are worried that they get sick, right? Also, Biden stopped, OSHA had protections in place there. People could say, like, if they were worried about, contracting COVID at work because there were unsafe areas, that was stopped under Biden. I mean, it's reprehensible.
Well, and now we're looking at monkeypox coming and being very common here. Like, it's not going to be COVID level. I mean, it could eventually, but like, if you contract monkeypox, you are supposed to quarantine for 3 weeks. Yeah. Who can take 3 weeks off, considering you're probably going to have COVID twice a year? That's going to be the new normal, which is going to deteriorate your life expectancy because your lung function is going to drop. Like, and then you're going to have monkeypox and need 3 weeks off. So what is the protection? You don't have employment protection because long COVID is already like there. We have 4 million people with long COVID in this country already struggling to get like any sort of protections for their job. And there's no job protection, but you're not getting disability. I mean, it's so hard to get disability for long COVID. Right. They have these programs which you're not going to qualify a lot of times, which
absolutely.
I just want to say if monkeypox becomes bigger than it is, which it's going to, what the fuck are we going to do? Like we really don't have like the impact that's going to have on the economy when you have people like Paul Krugman saying, oh, only, this is not something you should worry about. Why aren't you having economists on talking about the impact of long COVID? Like that on its own is a huge impact.
It's a huge impact. They're pretending it doesn't exist. And there's Biden pretending to be, remember how they would like make fun of Trump and get like the angle where he was signing something and he wasn't and there was like nothing on the paper, but he was pretending to sign something at his desk. There's Biden, who just like his gal Nancy can barely cobble together a sentence without bleeding out of his eyeballs, sitting at a table, no mask, working through COVID. So whoever was taking that picture and whichever age were in there are now at risk of getting COVID because then he rebounds anyway. But you're not supposed to work through COVID.
Yeah, and they're encouraging people to go back to work within 5 days. And here we are, I don't know, 10 days later, someone fact check me, who cares? Yeah. But like, here he is getting a rebound from Paxlovid. I mean, if that's what's actually happening, who knows? Who knows? But he has broken his own CDC guidelines or recommendations.
Yeah, it really is every man, woman, child for him, her, themselves. It's pretty crazy. President.
Should we show positive. The Biden video? What is that even related to? I forget, but I enjoyed it. I feel like we should show it so I can
something
go to the
funny. Okay, I go to the bathroom.
I have to go to the bathroom. 1:45.
That's what happens when you get old.
Yeah, it happened. It's either that or I have one of those little. We're not going to go there. Never mind. Catheters. Thank you.
Catheter.
If you watch CNN enough, you'll see catheter ads because that's what it's getting to.
That's where we are. Yeah, but don't stop working. It's like the Amazon piss jugs. All right, you're gonna play it so you can go to the bathroom.
Hi.
My name is.
What?
My name is.
Huh?
My name is.
Rocky Goggins. Hi.
My name is.
What?
My name is.
Who?
My name is.
The guy. Hi, kids. You like pie tits? They're not pie tits. You want to see me close both my eyelids? I get real close. I'm quicker than most. Let me be clear. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I take my Talkie Joe drugs and give super long hugs. I'm also an ice cream guy. Hi.
My name is.
What?
My name is.
Huh?
My name is.
Rogue Rival. Stop the tape. I need to be changed.
Maybe get another booster.
Get the f*** out of here. I keep getting it.
Sorry.
My thing didn't pass. Then I fell on my ass. Off a bike that wasn't even going too fast. No, I'm serious. I flew to Crown Pimp Obama. He's a real bad dude. Gave him a little fist bump because I didn't want to be rude.
Gas is still $18.
What are you guys talking about? It's all right. The economy's strong. And I couldn't be prouder of my boy Hunty's dog. I'm the next guy. So stop your searching. And if you don't vote for me, you ain't a black guy person. Hi. What? Who are you, man? Jabrock Jabryden. Thank you, and God bless America. Smile at camera. Sniff Sleepy, who's my name? Hunty and the big guy. DC Records.
Oh my God.
yeah.
How the hell did we get here? Leader of the free world, Joseph Biden.
You know, we should have countered that with Nancy Pelosi being an absolute fucking drunk.
We should get that for next week. We'll get a bunch of them together. Yeah, disastrous administration. All right, let's spin the wheel because we have a lot more to cover in 13 minutes, buddy.
We do?
We got a lot. We do.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it all.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
That one actually fit.
I know. Well, it's fine.
Sound effect fit.
I know we all know, but I did just want to come back to the original definition before they changed it on Wikipedia of a rotating villain. When the majority party has enough votes to pass populist legislation, party leaders designate a scapegoat who will refuse to vote with the party, thereby killing the legislation. The opposition is otherwise inexplicable and typically comes from someone who is safe or not up for re-election. This allows for maximum diffusion of responsibility. What the fuck? Senator Lieberman now opposes the same healthcare compromise he himself suggested. Just when everyone thought Democrats had enough votes to get this done, guess they made Lieberman the rotating villain. And am I right that it was Glenn Greenwald who coined that? I don't know if he's the original person, but it was the first time rotating I read about it in 2010.
I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah. But anyway, they are, we started with the parliamentarian. Then we had 8 different senators vote against raising the $15 minimum wage after they couldn't just blame including it on the parliamentarian. Then, of course, we had Manchin. Now that he's made some awful climate deal for this new act, what is it? The IRA Act?
Yeah, well, we have climate on the wheel, but we're going to run out of time. Maybe we should throw it. No, we have time for climate too.
Yeah,
so we're on the verge of okay, if all these things, if abortion is driving people to the polls, like Democrats hope, they need some more. They're like, holy shit, we need more mansions, we need more cinemas, and that's why you've got Nancy Pelosi literally backing while she's asking for abortion money
to help Roe, right?
Yeah, she's begging for another Democrat. She's literally funding, endorsed, and channeled Democratic Party money to Henry Cuellar, who was an NRA anti-abortion guy
and anti-labor, all of it. He's awful.
Building all the mansion replacements. They're building them. So when they say it's we can't do it because of that guy, and they're like, but you got to elect this other guy that's just like that guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what's happening right now.
And then they talk about, it's not a safe seat, which is always bullshit because they don't try. And I think Jessica Cisneros actually really would have won the progressive down in Texas, who is primarying Cuellar. They barely dragged Cuellar over the finish line with something. What was it tens of millions of dollars. And now here he is.
Well, that's just who he is. We know that, but
yeah. Well, no, this is an anti-labor bill. So not only is he anti-abortion.
Yeah. So we knew he was anti-abortion and pro-NRA.
Pro-NRA, right.
Anti-gun reform legislation.
Right.
But now he's like seriously anti-labor. He's putting out. Oops, here it is. Here it is. I think right.
That's the $15. That's from a year ago. Just because, first they said, oh, it's the parliamentarian they blamed it on. Then they did find, what was it, like 8 senators to vote against, because Bernie tried to get the $15 minimum wage put back on that first American Rescue Act. Right. And those are Democrats who voted against putting $15 minimum wage on, as part of that. So when they talk about it's not a recession, yeah, we're blaming you. You promised us a $15 minimum wage, which is wholly insufficient, but at least it's twice what the national wage is right now. And you still voted against it. And now we're supposed to give you money.
And they're literally, they have, if your argument really is, okay, goddamn Manchin's the worst guy that fucking ever existed. He's fucking us left and right. They haven't pulled his committee position as the leader of the energy and
or threatened to primary him, publicly say, that's it. If you can't get on board, then we will primary you. We will fund somebody who will primary you. They won't do that because, of course, and I know we all know this, but it's just so frustrating talking to, every time I post anything or talk to anybody, well, we just need a couple more Democrats. And I know we all know that that's a big joke, but to see it happening, where how many more Democrats do we need? What's the magic number? Is it 60? Is it 80? Is it 99 Democrats in the Senate? How many will be enough?
There will never be enough because there's always enough money to literally bribe enough people to vote against something.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep. Do you remember, was it last year where the people kayaked out to Manchin's
his yacht? Yeah.
You got these people on kayaks behind his yacht, begging him to respond.
Yeah.
And that was the only way they got him to answer a question.
Yeah. But none of it really matters. It doesn't even matter if he's voted out, actually, because he's going to get some lobby. I mean, it's all set up for him. He's set.
Yeah, well, they're set and they could bunker in and survive all this. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. And they could, obviously, I mean, he literally makes money off of gas and oil. So he's wrecked this. I mean, what are we on?
Yeah, let's go to the climate. Yeah, you want to go to that? Just talk about the climate.
We did build back MAGA.
We have not done that. And that's another important part to this, though, is that, I saw a few people talking about the Pied Piper strategy and how it blew up in their face. And on some level, it blew up in their face because obviously Trump won. But on some level, it's the best gig going, right? The best thing that Democrats have ever done is create a Republican Party, help create a Republican Party that is full-blown fascist, because then they're always going to be just enough better than the other guy. And for a lot of people, that's scary enough that they're going to keep on falling in line as we keep on, goose stepping to the right. So in a way, the Pied Piper strategy is brilliant. It works for them.
So you literally have to bat Democrats because you want to stop abortion rights being overturned and whatever. And every issue you have to okay, the right is that awful, and the right will be more openly that awful, and they're going to elect another Trump next term, which is extremely awful.
Yeah.
So then the left will go farther to right because they will go farther corporate right, because they know you have to vote for them for these other issues. There's no alternative. And that's, I mean, I don't blame people who feel stuck in that situation you have to, I don't blame you. That's how but because we don't have a way out of this other than other than strikes, protests,
and labor union. I mean, unions and solidarity. That's it. Because Democrats love this game. They fundraise off of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't care if they win.
We just can't vote our way out of this. You should, vote for the lesser evil.
Meanwhile, they're funneling money into these MAGA candidates who are actually then beating moderate Republicans. I don't actually really think there is such thing as a moderate Republican anyway, but beating the more palatable Republicans from fundraising off of Democratic supporters and using that money. Yeah. I mean, I hate that we have something from Bari Weiss because she's awful, but the honorable principled moderate Republican, gag me, lost his primary because Democrats funded the, Stop the Steal MAGA candidate.
Well, that's what we're doing. And what people, so we have a clip on that. Let's show that clip, I guess. But hang on.
Wait, I just saw Viola's sweet comment. I want to put up there. Thanks, Viola. Thanks. I'm just going to frame that sweet comment. Okay. Yeah. Which is the thing that this is a really good, because it's a disgusting strategy. And what it betrays is that Democrats run on absolutely no policies that they actually believe on, because then you could just almost entirely ignore the fascism and talk about the policies you want to enact and fight for the people whom you're supposed to represent. Are you going to do that, or do you want me to do it?
They felt like somebody was following the Mitt Romney playbook. I've got a 6-point plan. And somebody was following the Donald Trump playbook. Open border socialist. Like, that's the party now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a reminder of the toxicity that Donald Trump inserted into the Republican Party. Some people are fighting to take that out. Obviously, Mike Pence has picked up that flag now. Will they succeed or not? We'll see. I mean, there have been some successes by more traditional or establishment-type Republicans this primary season. It doesn't appear that Donald Trump is the totally dominant, force in the party anymore. He does have some competition, but these days he's also getting support from Democrats who are funding some of these MAGA Trump candidates, which I think is, a big problem, and I think a scandal hasn't been discussed enough. But these candidates, they're getting amplified, they're getting heard, and the more that message is out there, the more it intoxicates our politics.
Adrian, are you comfortable with that strategy that the DCCC did this week? And it's not the first time sort of helping essentially somebody who's an illiberal, small d Democrat?
Yeah, look, as a tale is all this time. Both Democrats and Republicans have been doing this for a long time. You want to make sure that you are running against the weakest opponent that you possibly can. I'm not seeing all the empirical data, but I do have faith that the strategists at the DCCC are seeing something that says if we can help get these, crazy insurrectionists over the finish line to being the general election nominee. Congress? Well, look, it's a risk that we have to take. But let me also say this, Chuck. Democrats are often criticized for not being tough enough or not being, aggressive enough when it comes to strategy. Here's an example of us doing that, and we're getting criticized.
But I think the challenge, though, when I talk to Democrats who are really frustrated and worried about this strategy, they say the problem is twofold. One, the person might actually get into office. And number two, it makes Democrats look hypocritical for saying these people are a threat to the nation's democracy. And Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania is the perfect example. Someone who Democrats really wanted to win the primary. Now he has in the gubernatorial race. And now he's doing better in the polls, Chuck. And that is making Pennsylvania Democrats very nervous.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens. You have no ideology. You have nothing to run on, nothing you care about. And so it's a game, because a different tactic, a different strong arm tactic would be calling out every single person, talk about, it's all in open secrets, who is financing them, and shame them publicly. That's a tactic I could get behind. You know why he doesn't want Medicare for all? You know why Nancy Pelosi is comfortable with 330,000 people dying from COVID because they don't have health insurance? Because she's a corporate whore and she takes money from the health insurance industry. Here's everybody else who does it. That is a strong arm tactic I would love to get behind. But up, putting the Pied Piper.
There is no example. I mean, okay, forget about examples of it working. We have the biggest example of it failing ever that put us in this position.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody watching this probably understands this, but what happened, which is the big WikiLeaks thing that they showed, was that the Pied Piper strategy was the Democratic Party strategically deciding to elevate 3 of the worst radical Republicans, which was Trump,
Ben
Carson, and Cruz.
Right.
And of course, they came in as the top 3 in their goddamn Republican primary. So that was strategically effective at doing what they said they wanted to do. They wanted to elevate these guys to the top of the right, which then became the mindset of the right. You amplified a fascist position intentionally, and it failed miserably because ultimately she lost that. And then the country, so you ended up spreading that ideology, literally spending money on that.
Yep.
And so they're trying to do that again. And Democrats, a lot of these people on TV, like with the last woman that was on there.
Ugh. I mean, I hate them all, right?
She's
Welker.
a terrible Welker. She's a terrible propagandist, the worst.
Yeah.
But she's even like, you know, they're letting some of this stuff is coming through because they understand what happened the last time.
Right.
Like,
but here's the thing is that, you know, on some level, even they, like, she might say that and now she can be like the progressive voice or whatever, the, you know, righteous indignation. But like, the truth is they love having Trump there and Cruz there. They can't get enough about talking about the January 6th, you know. It's privileged if you don't vote for Biden.
Right. And
because of gender. Yeah.
And that is part of, they've done this for 20 years. So MSNBC specifically will come out and appeal to the left and right. I mean, not right. I mean, right, of course,
right.
But like, they will act like they are allowing more bias and independence and whatnot up until you have a primary, and then it all gets closed down.
Yeah.
Because the idea in that interim window is to say, oh, I trust these guys because they're being critical of X, and they're being honest about this, and you'll see them actually being honest occasionally on some stuff. So that builds trust in general enough to
so
get.
Then when they say,
then they can sell their message. They can sell their message 2 weeks before the actual election.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So yeah, there's a lot of the blue MAGA stuff of funding. How many millions of dollars have they spent now? And then there's, okay, so first of all, there are all of these $44 million Democrats have spent to boost the profile of far-right candidates. Just enact Medicare for all and say, you know, we are in a pandemic and people need health care. He would be so popular. It would help with people's finances. It would help with their trust of him. Good. And then let it go to the courts. Do something. Do something. They won't do anything. Instead, they're going to just send money to these MAGA people.
He could even, like, if you're a Democrat wanting to win, he could even put it out there and get a vote on it and have it fail. Have it completely fail. But he tried to get this across, and they can run on trying to get it across. But they don't do that because if you tried to get it across, it means it's more likely to eventually get across.
Right. Which is why they won't get rid of the filibuster, right? And why, you know, here's Trump. Here's Biden. Under Biden, we still have DeJoy as the head of the Postal Service. They are letting go 50,000 employees, right? They're continuing to build Trump's racist wall. They're giving more money to cops, more money to the military.
They bragged about the wall.
Yeah. The racist wall.
We're doing what Trump could never do, which was keep out the Mexicans. Like, I mean, they're not saying it that way, but more or less. Like, should we show the? I feel like I want to show this clip about my friend's movie coming up.
Yeah.
Should we?
But heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to end too, because here are people who are really working towards something.
Here's a positive thing.
Because we like to be happy. We're gonna end on a happy note.
I have faith.
All right, let's see it.
Yes, let's go.
My daughter Shalyn went to the emergency room with my husband, and you know, the first thing they asked her when she got there was, "Do you have insurance?" And Shalyn replied, "No." This sealed Shalyn's fate.
If me and Danny lived in Canada, if me and Danny lived in Mexico, me and Danny would still be living in Canada or Mexico.
One of the hardest parts was talking to the insurance collector because he even broke down in tears. He couldn't believe that he was having to call me to tell me that I had a bill because my baby had died.
The Democrats and the Republicans are both in the pockets of Big Pharma and the insurance lobby.
It's not just one of the parties that's been corrupted by corporate money. It's both parties.
The main reason why we're not where we need to be is because of money in politics.
Ultimately, everything's about the dollar bill, right? So when you have Big Pharma, when you have these mega health insurance companies who basically write the bills for our politicians. Of course, it's a conflict of interest. It shouldn't happen.
We pay more in America for our health care than almost anybody in the world for worse results.
This is a profit-driven business. Make no mistake in that. And they are duty-bound. They can be sued if they are not acting in the best interest of their shareholders.
The fallout is that they would rather make a sale than take care of a patient. The people in this country know the system is broken.
Medicare for All, with 88% of Democrats and 49% of Republicans and 70% of Americans overall, is an American policy.
We can make this heavy political lift. We can do this.
That's a great trailer for a movie that so
Andy
many friends of
Valentine.
the show. Yeah.
Took me a second to
Documentary
remember his name.
filmmaker.
Documentary filmmaker, just recruited, well, not recruited, but got Susan Sarandon to do the voiceover for this movie.
Enemy of all Democrats everywhere.
Worst person on earth. But there's so many great people in that clip. I mean, Scott, who lost his son to $20 or something they wouldn't pay. He was suicidal, glued his seatbelt into his, depressing stuff. But Wendell Potter in there. I mean, there's so many great people speaking the truth in that video. The Red Berets, Lisa.
That's right. Yeah. And again, that's what Democrats should be fighting for and running on. And that is a winning message. So the thing where they funnel money into MAGA candidates in the hopes of, fortifying this wackadoo party, and Nancy Pelosi, who every chance she gets talks about how we need a strong Republican Party. It is so vile, and it's against everything that they should be standing for. So these voices, I'm so proud of them. Yeah.
And that's why they do it, because the farther right, the public accepts, the worse the Democrats could be. So even if it doesn't work, that's almost better for Democrats.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's awful.
But the thing that is, I think as the labor movement continues to grow, and, they're making CEOs nervous. But I think that kind of solidarity is where we will eventually find ourselves with a little more power. We just really need people in office also to activate their bases, and they want nothing more than to shut us all down, which is, something we have to work on. I don't know what the solution is to that. Yeah.
It's the only place that we have power. We don't have power in voting. Vote. I encourage everyone to vote, but it's not going to do it. So if voting isn't going to do it, if voting isn't going to.
Oh, he turned himself off.
If you're privileged enough,
if
you're privileged enough to be poor and worried about the recession and inflation, your power is somehow, joining a union, joining anything activist. If you lose your job, that's awful. No one wants you to lose your job, and that's what they're counting on, is that they can create economic conditions to where you can't afford to lose your job. And right now is the moment in time, the longest we've had in a long time, where labor has some power. You have some ability to direct the terms of your employment, which we haven't had in a long time. So if strikes beget strikes and unions form, and it weakens their position, that's what they're trying to stop from happening. So
that's right.
Join any union you can.
Yeah, and even join a picket line. Sometimes even just, there are strikes happening all over. Join a picket line, just to show some kind of solidarity. There's a group that sets up on a corner about 3 miles away, and there's like 3 of them most days. But, it's like, against police brutality, and I see them there with their placards, and I'll go over and say hi. And I think just any, like, even small acts of solidarity help people feel some sense of connection, because that is what we really have to build. Sorry, I've been trying to read everyone's comments on that. We're so appreciative. Thank you for everybody's like writing in all this great stuff, and I'm seeing some studies done, but I haven't been able to read fast enough as we're talking. So I will look at all the comments. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your comments, but thank you all. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say we really need to get going, because I think they're going to squeeze things to make it worse on workers, which makes it harder to protest and things aren't going to get easier. Like, so now is the best, almost the best we got. Like, there's a weird window of like, things are so fucking awful, but you can afford to feed your family. Now let's get out there and make something of this. And things are so bad that you can't afford you can't afford your fucking shitty $8 an hour job.
They're counting on our desperation, but that's also the fire possibly. So let's hope. All right. So thank you all so much for joining us. We will be back next week, and keep punching up. You guys are great. I love this hour that we all get to spend together. Cheers.
Cheers. I have to scroll the video and push the button. God damn it.
You have a lot of jobs.
Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Appreciate it, everybody.